you guys popped in. We're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects. But my name is Vonda Granger, and I go to Kings and Paris Church of Christ. And I'm actually, typically, I'm called a retirement and pre-retirement specialist. I specialize in Medicare, and I have a team that I work with, financial planners, people that are security licensed. I work with a team of people depending on what's needed for my clients. And on the financial side, we help people with annuities, financial planning, insurance, and things of that nature. And the reason why I actually added that to my bag is because working on the Medicare side, I see a lot of decisions that people have to make. You know, none of us grew up really with learning about financial planning and things of that nature. We did what our parents kind of taught us, and we did money and did the best we can. Some of that stuff is held from us, okay? But now I work on that side as well because I know the decisions people have to make, and I want to help you have a better ride as you're going there. So like if you're in your 30s or 40s and 50s, let's look at your plans and let's tweak some things. Oftentimes it's just some tweaking. If you just know a little bit more, hey, we can make it a better ride as you go, and then once you get to 65, you'll be sitting pretty, and you can make some decisions now you want to make. So that's why I added it in my bag, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. And I have PowerPoints and all that stuff, but I kind of like to be close to my people, and I just like to talk. My background is actually occupational therapy. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been a therapist for probably 38 years, which just sounds crazy to say that because I'm only like 30. How does that happen? My niece is turning 32, and we're going to be the same age this year. So. But no, I'm good. I turned 60 finally this March. So I'm actually in the 60s group. I can no longer say 50s and all that stuff. He said, oh. But, so my background is occupational therapy. I've been a therapist for that long, and I specialize in adult care as well as geriatric care, and I did a lot of home care, I did a lot of rehab. I still do patient care here and there. I still treat people, just whenever they call me, they need a therapist, I kind of give some hours because I love therapy. Bridged into this because it is actually a lot like therapy. I get to go along with my people. I kind of look at your situation, and everybody is individual. Look at you, look at what's going on and what's happening, what you need, what you want, and then we make a plan, and then I help people into plans, and then I stay with you throughout the year, so I'm your person. That is the difference with having an independent insurance broker. Am I talking loud enough back there? Yes. So I am an independent insurance broker. And independent means I work for myself, Granger, Rethink Insurance, but I also don't work for Anthem. I don't work for Humana, Aetna. I can help people into any of those plans. I don't work for them, I work with them. They market to me because they want to get to you. And the only way they get to you when we work together is if they fit. I love them all. Some people say, oh, I hate Anthem or I love Anthem. I love them all. It just depends. Like if I'm working with Wilma, then you know what? Anthem may not be the best deal. So I say, well, let's look it over here. That's going to be the best deal for you. If I worked for Anthem or Humana or Aetna, then I couldn't do that. I would have to stay with them. And I'm not staying with them because you just may not be the fit. Okay? So in my bag as a broker, that's what it means. In my bag, you'll see some signs here. It just shows some of the carriers that I actually work with. Make sense? Okay, I want y'all to be with me, and I like interacting. And if you have questions, I want you to ask those questions. Go ahead and raise your hand and ask them. I may answer it right then and there, or we may get to it. Okay? But I want you to really understand. Being a therapist, I really like to educate and make people understand. Let's see here. I'm going to get a couple of volunteers. I need 5 volunteers, and you just need to be able to get up a little bit and come up here when I ask you to. Who wants to be my 5 volunteers? All right, we got one. It won't hurt, not much. Not much. It'll be over quickly. We got those 2. Can you get me?
All right, KT.
And you guys, actually, these 2, you can sit here and here since y'all came up. But the rest of you guys can stay there for a minute. She's going to hand you something. You guys can sit in that chair. Thank you. You have a seat in this chair. Thank you.
Where's my opportunity?
Y'all quiet. I'm not used to quiet people now. Okay. I thought you said something. All right, so just to let you know a little bit more about me, I'm not from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm actually from a really small town called Washington, Indiana. Did you know that? You didn't know that? It's a really, really small town. It's 2 hours south of here, where a lot of people look like me. I'm family in there. Now there's a lot of people that look like me, but it was a very small town. So I came to Indianapolis to go to school. I got my undergraduate in occupational therapy, and then I went, that's from IU here in Indianapolis. And then I went to Indianapolis and got my master's degree in occupational therapy. So all OT, okay? So, want to tell you what's in your packet before we go. First of all, you've got a little ink pen, happens to be from Aetna, but remember who I work for. Okay, so do I work for Aetna? All right. People say, oh, you're a company. I'm like, that's not my company. But I have all kinds of gear from everybody. Then I have a little pad of paper, so if you want to take some notes, and then my business card is on there, so if you want to contact me, and then my business card in the letter roll. Okay, so that's all for you. Now, this is going to be general. I only sell Medicare or work with clients Medicare in the state. I'm licensed in Colorado and Florida, and I can be licensed in any state for financial things, but Medicare, I keep it to Indiana because I would want to know. In every state, very different. So it's enough for me to do that. So in your packet, on the left-hand side, you can pull that first page out because we're going to talk about that. The next 2 pages back there, you can leave in there because it's kind of a synopsis of what we're going to go through and talk about. But it's a beautiful synopsis, and you'll understand it. And on this side here, to the right, the red paper, you can pull that out too and use your pen. It's just a little exercise we can go through, and you can certainly go through that if you want to. We'll talk about it. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Right now. So, put my glasses on because I can't see. Let me ask you this before we get started. Who thinks Medicare is confusing? A few people? Yeah. What are you? I said, who thinks Medicare is confusing? Yeah, me too. And you know what? Some people tell me, oh, I already know all about that. And I was like, well, then can we meet? Because you can help me. Because I don't even know. So I don't know how people know all of it because the rules change quickly. And now that you have the administration is different. We ain't gonna talk about that. That ain't the class. Who knows? But I will say this: nothing has changed as of yet. So people are, get up in arms and they call me, oh, what's going to happen to my Medicare, my Social Security, and all that stuff. I can't tell you any of that stuff. That's not out yet. It's just, talk. All right. So on that first page, is everybody here already on Medicare? Anybody not turned 65, not on it yet? Okay. You will. Hey, perfect. And that's what we got to do. Okay, beautiful. So let me tell you first of all what Medicare is. It is a federal ran program. It's federal health insurance. So it's ran by the federal government. It is not group insurance. It's individual. If you're married and you want to go on your Medicare, you don't bring your husband along like your work insurance. You can't. Everybody's individual. Okay? You can be on Medicare. You have to be 65 or older. You have to be a legal citizen of the country, or you can be move here and be a legal resident of the country. You have to have been here 5 years and 5 years in a row consecutively when you want to get on Medicare. Does that make sense? Okay. So what it is not, it's not, like I said, it's not group insurance, and it's not Medicaid, and it's not Social Security. Those are all different things. And I am not Medicare. Some people, call me and say, well, you know what, can you help me with this Medicare? I can answer Medicare questions as long as it's in my realm. In our resource room, I have some people there. There is a gentleman it's called Chip. He's got an orange table. He is Medicare. He can sign you up for a plan when you're trying to get if you're trying to get a Medicare Advantage plan or something like that, or if you're going to stay with the original Medicare. He can actually sign you up But I, as an independent agent, work with Medicare, and we are independent brokers. So we work with you one-on-one, and we stay with you through the year to answer questions. Trust me, I go to my senior building, some people bring me a stack of mail. I don't know what this is, can you help me figure it out? So, you know, I put glasses on. But that's my job, if you hire me. And that's what I do. I help you, and I'm your person to call whenever you have a problem. If you sign up with him, you can sign up with him, but you just won't have an independent agent. It's kind of like having a coach. And you can sign up with me because it costs you nothing. The way I get paid, because I do education and I work with a person, I may work with you and have 3 meetings and meet for an hour, 6 hours, or what have you. You never pay me anything. I don't get paid to do that. I get paid when you allow me to be your agent, which means you, after we talk about Medicare and you decide on a plan, we decide together, when you let me write the plan, then I become your agent, I become your advocate. If you don't, if you just go online and sign up, I didn't get paid, doesn't make me smile, but it's okay. But you won't have me as an advocate. You have to navigate that yourself, or you have to call the carriers. Now, I do help people at some point, but sometimes people have an agent. Everybody can work differently. They have an agent, but they just don't work with them. They don't take calls. And I help a little bit, but at some point I say, you know, you have an agent. You have to go, I can be your agent, but you know, it's like me working and they get paid. And I like to eat. So, anyway, I like to eat. I like to eat a lot. Yes, ma'am.
So, of course, a lot of people here are from other states and whatever. Can you be their agent if they, depending on what region that they're in?
It's a good question. I could if I got a license in that area. That's not hard, just get a license. But I stay with Indiana with Medicare because the rules are so different and the plans are so different in every state. This is enough for me right now. Okay, but financial services, I can do it, it's much easier.
So would you refer, like say if somebody from another region or somewhere else, would you refer them to an agent?
Yes, another good question. So if you do live in another state, that's perfectly fine. I'm about education, so it doesn't matter to me. God is going to feed me no matter what. It doesn't matter. He's going to feed me. I just need to educate. But yes, if you want me to find an agent in your area, you can tell me your state and your zip code. I can go through my sources because I have a network of women that do this and that I like, that are reputable, because there's some bad apples out there.
Yes.
There's some bad apples. But I have some people that I am more connected with that I trust. And I would say this, when you're finding an agent, one gentleman told me, he said, well, do I really need an agent? Now this is after I spent like a couple of weeks with him, went through his staff. And I was like, well, you know what, I don't know. I said, did you find what I did helpful? And could you have done it by yourself? And do you think this is the end? I said, so you have to determine if you feel like you need an agent. I think you do, but what do I know? So yes, big question. Yes, ma'am.
So if I call the 800 number or whatever, can I request you?
That is such a good question. Please do not call the 1-800 numbers. When you see those on TV, they're not scams, like if they're Humana or Aetna or what have you. They're not scams, but they're call centers. And their job is to just sign you up. It takes a minute. Like if I'm gonna work with Wilma, we're gonna have a conversation, a 15-20-minute consultation before we even talk about plans. Let me understand what you're doing, what are you trying to achieve, what's important to you, who are your doctors, what are your medicines? Because all that's important, because there are lots of plans out there. I represent 8 carriers and there's at least 100 plans. I'm not putting all those in front of you. I'm going to put the ones after I understand what's going on with Wilma and what she's looking for. I pull a few and then we'll say, okay, these are based on what you told me. Here's the options I think we should check. And we want to make sure your doctors are in the network. We want to make sure your medicines are on the formula. That's a fancy term for saying they pay for it, okay? Right. But when you're going to the doctor, I teach my clients to say formulary, because then they know you're working with somebody. And then I make sure they're the least expensive, because sometimes Aetna and United, all of them can have the same drug, and it can be a whole different price. So my job is to go through all of that and put it down and then come to you. Did I answer that question? Long way around? Okay. I talk a lot. Sometimes I get tired of it. Anybody get tired of hearing yourself talk about that? I am, and that's because I'm a therapist. And I tell people that's an advantage how this works, the plans that you choose when you go into rehab, because I do rehab, and I see what happens on that end, and a lot of agents were talking with people about plans, and I knew they had health situations and what have you, and I was like, you know, that's probably not going to be the best for them, but you tell them that this is how it really works. So I have a little bit of an edge, I feel like, and I love people, so. Any of you had questions too?
No, I was just saying, you're very detailed.
Oh, thank you very much, thank you. All right, so we're gonna first of all, everybody knows that red, white, and blue card. That is your Medicare card, okay? And the red, white, and blue card, you have a Part A, and then you have a Part B, and you have a date by each of them, and they can be different depending on when you start taking Part B or retire or left your work insurance. So Part A, when you have that red, white, and blue card, you have a Part A and Part B. Part A takes care of anything in the hospital. So if you go and have a surgery inside the hospital, all kinds of things, whatever, nursing, doctor care, all that stuff. Part B takes care of anything outside of the hospital. So when you go see your primary care doctor, when you see your specialist, if you need to get an MRI, anything like that, that's outpatient. That's what Part B covers. So let's go over, because people don't know that it costs. I used to think it was free. It ain't free. That's not good English, but it ain't free. It is not, and I didn't know that before I really even got into this. Now, we're going to go over what it costs if you're on A and B. If you use that red, white, and blue card when you go to a doctor, that's what you give them. You are on A and B. It's called traditional or original Medicare, okay? So, before we go over this, I will say, don't get too excited, because the reason why people will add a supplement to their Medicare is because of these prices, okay? Because the supplement, or you've heard of Medigap, it kind of supplements what they don't cover, or it fills in the gap. So a supplement and a Medigap are the same thing. They just call it two different things, okay? It's called traditional Medicare or original. The government does a lot of stuff. They term stuff and it means the same thing, and the government just, I don't understand. But anyway, we'll move on. Okay, so Part A. Here's what Part A covers. On the front page, around the front page. Okay, so Part A, when we're talking about hospital, because remember it pays for things in the hospital. If you go to the hospital, first of all, you'll see here's hospitalizations on the left. In the middle is what Medicare covers, and on the far side is what you pay, okay? So if you go to the hospital and say you stay there 60 days, day 1 through 60, the bottom line is you're going to pay a deductible. And everybody really knows deductibles because from your work insurance. But this is a different kind of a deductible. Your deductible is $1,676. But that deductible, usually people hear that and they think annual. This deductible is not annual. Say you go to the hospital, you stay 60 days, or you stay 30 days, it doesn't matter. You go home and you stay out of the hospital 60 days, at least 2 months. Say that third month, something else happens, you go back to the hospital. Well, now you're going to pay another deductible because that deductible is for 2 months. Okay? So if you go and you stay out 60 days, or 30 days, 60 days, then you come back in, you've got to pay another $1,674. Does that make sense? So it's not annual, it's every time you miss a benefit period. That's what they call it, a benefit period, okay? Make sense? Okay. So now, let's say you go to the hospital, instead of being out in 60 days, you stay, like when COVID was happening, you stay 90 days. Now, from day 61 to day 90, your charge is $419 a day. And they're just putting that number 12,000, a little over 12,000. That's how much it would be if you stayed day 61 through 90. Okay, it's a lot of money. Now, say you stayed longer than 91 days, you stayed up to 150 days. Now they're going to charge you $838 a day. And then they just calculated that would be almost $60,000, okay? So, just to, like I said, Medicare is not free. That's why we have supplements to fill in the gaps. But before we get there, say now you go out of the hospital and now you need to go to skilled nursing facility for rehab, and that's kind of my specialty, one of my specialties. The first 20 days is zero. But day 21, they're gonna charge you $209.50 per day, okay? And in the hospital, you're not gonna stay in the hospital as long. They're gonna get you out. I don't care if you got a lung hanging out, a leg missing, and something else wiggling. They're gonna give you an aspirin until you go home. In the rehab, when you go to skilled nursing home for rehab, they wanna keep you longer. And it all has to do with reimbursement too. But in rehab, I will have to say, because I'm rehab, you have to be, like if you're independent, if you're married, or even if you're single, you gotta be able to take care of yourself. So if Wilma was up and doing all the bathing and dressing and all of that stuff before she went into rehab, and she had something happen, well, we want to try to get her back up to that level for her own health, but also so her husband, Jeff, doesn't have to do all that for her. I have some patients that used to tell me, oh, my husband, like they couldn't wipe themselves or go to the bathroom or put their socks and shoes on. Now, it's one thing if you really can't, you've been through therapy, you can't. But just because you don't want to do it, they say, oh, my husband will do it. And I was like, I'm a different kind of therapist. I've been practicing a long time. I'm a different kind of therapist. I looked at her like this. I was like, really? I said, well, okay, let me talk to him real quick. Do you mind wiping her and doing all that stuff? I mean, we can work on it in there, but do you mind? Do you want to go ahead and put your so I was like, why can't we have a conversation? Let's have a conversation because, but you know, it's important to work hard here. Okay, yes, sir.
I know this states that's in the skilled nursing facility, so my mom wanted to go home with me. That's not something you would do after a hospital stay.
Say the whole part from the beginning, I missed the whole beginning.
This is saying in the skilled, if you're transferred into a skilled nursing facility. So if my mom wanted to go home with me, this doesn't apply.
Good question. Did everybody hear her? Okay. So good question. So if you're in the skilled facility, it's skilled, which means it needs the skill of a therapist or a doctor. There's a skill that you can't do or your family can't do that they need to do. They pay for it. Now, if you go home, they do cover home care as long as there's a skill. It has to be, again, something that, you know, you're still working on. Now, once it becomes maintenance, which means, you know, like I can go in, I really don't need to, I've already taught you how to do that. It's anybody, I can teach her to do it for you. It doesn't take the skill of me. Because they don't want to pay me when they could just pay somebody else less because they're paying me more because I got to deliver a skill. Now, if I can teach it to her to teach you and keep it going, they're like, we're not paying for that part. So it's maintenance. That is what's not covered. That's why I was saying too, when you are getting ready to go through this, and even before you get on Medicare, let's talk about that because we need to prepare for that. I'm single, and I'm already preparing for the fact that, you know, this may be my lifestyle. This is a choice for me. I love being single. I like whatever. Marriage is probably great too. But it's
Single's great too.
Single's great. All of it's good. All of it's good as long as you got God. All of it's good. But the fact of the matter is, I'm preparing for that now. Who knows what's going to happen? But I want to be able to make those decisions and have the finances behind it. Because in those situations, you're just on your own. And if you haven't adjusted some things or got long-term care or got a whole life policy with X, Y, and Z, then you just got to pay for that out of your pocket. And a lot of my patients think that, oh, Medicare won't pay for this. I need to go home and I want to aid. They don't pay for that. So always I think it's better to learn what they pay for, what they don't, so you can prepare. Because you just go, and then the options are Medicaid. And another reason I do this was because, matter of fact, I thought this was boring. When the lady talked to me about getting into this,
Yeah, right.
she said, I think you would be great at doing this. And I was like, I don't want to sell insurance. And that's how I said, oh, that's so boring. Why would I want to do that? She's like, it's not about selling insurance. It's about you love coming alongside of people and educating them and being their advocate. That's what it's about. She said, there are so many people confused about this. They need somebody trusted that they can go to. She said, I think you'd be great. And I love it now. Something's wrong with me. I really like it. So anyway, but my mother.
Seems like the trust part is what is here.
Yeah, and you gotta find somebody who you trust. I tell people, I think you should be me. But if it's not, find somebody who you trust and who you feel like has your best interest. Yeah, I mean, find that person. Now, also my mother, she did really, really good with saving. Did a nice job, but she didn't know. She saved a certain amount, but then she didn't anticipate getting Alzheimer's or dementia. None of us anticipate that. So we had a dilemma. She had a nice lump of money, but she had to then go to, first she was in the senior apartment, but then she had to go to assisted living. And we had a dilemma because it's very expensive. So the bottom line is we had to do what's called a spin down. Has anybody ever heard about spin down? We had to do a spin down because she had a nice lump of money, but it wasn't, how long are you going to live now? We don't know. So we can't keep affording to pay that. So we did a spin down to go on Medicaid paid by the state so that she could save. So you have to basically spend most of all of your money down, you get a little bit, but the state takes care of everything. And that's what I want people not to have to do. You know, but both of my parents had to. Wonderful people and try and save, but just didn't know. Just didn't know. So anyway. All right.
I know.
Yes.
Medicare coexist with VA and insurance, because I can't get in there. I cannot get the right information as far as my medication. My medication is still high. I have. They said now, like I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, then I have VA, and some of my medicine is still high. You know, I'll get one in there.
Yeah.
How does that coexist?
Good question. He's talking about he has your VA.
Yeah.
Are you VA? Are you just VA, or are you CHAMP, or you TRICARE for life?
Well, I wouldn't know because this was back then. I'm a Vietnam veteran.
Okay. Let's talk offline, but I will say, let's talk afterwards offline.
Okay.
But I will say, VA veterans have some special options. Also, federal workers and post office workers, it's a whole different animal. But with VA, just the short, a lot of vets, and if you don't know what TRICARE for Life or CHAMP is, you probably don't have it. But a lot of vets, it depends on your level, you can have your drugs taken care of by the VA. And so then you would get a Medicare Advantage plan that does not have drug coverage because you get it from here. If you don't have it with the VA, if you don't have drug coverage, then we would put you on a plan that has drug coverage, and then we find the cheapest one. So let's talk afterwards, and if I'm not in your state, then I can, hook you up with somebody in your state. Okay, but we'll talk offline. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. You said something about spin down. Now, when you spin down, can you put the money, take the money and put it in maybe a CD or something for your grandchildren?
Yeah, good question. One person was trying to do something, they were just trying to put it in savings, or they were just trying to take a hunk and hide it. The federal government, you can't get past it because they'll see those deductions and say, well, where did this lump go? And they can go back. But yes, that's why financial planning and a plan is important, because you can do things with wills and trusts and things like that when people can't get to it. So definitely we can talk about that if you like. And wills are important, but trusts are important too, because wills don't keep you from probate. Okay, they don't, and you want to not do probate. Both my parents passed. It was easy with my mother, but my father's side, Papa was a Rolling Stone. He had that song, I love him to death, but he's a Rolling Stone. And it was a little hot mess. If you don't have that stuff tied up, you don't want that stuff happening. Yes, well, then I'll meet you.
So how easy is it to get over?
How is it?
How easy is it to get over? Because I know the trend.
Yeah. So, there she is, Yvonne Hankerson. Wave your hand like you don't. That's Yvonne Hankerson. She has been assisting me for the last 3 years. I'm not sure, she's a godsend to me. She's one of my clients, but she told me that she would help me. So she's been helping me. So at the end of this, she's got some permission to contact cards. If you fill that out, it gives me permission to talk to you. And then I can call you, because I can't solicit you. Now, I'm not like the TV commercials. I'm held to a lot of rules. I can't call you unless you give me permission. And then once you give me permission, I do have to have you fill out a form too, for you to tell me what you want to talk about. I'm not like the TV commercials that bug you. Make sure you go to my resource room over there, because there's a lady over there that talks about scams and fraud. I want you to do that, okay? And go get some information. And then, like I said, there's a Medicare representative over there, because I'm not Medicare. He's Medicare. I work with him on plans, okay? And I think somebody else had a question. Yes, sir.
Yes, could you expound on that spin down? I have a substantial 401k, and if I fall into that situation, and they look at, that amount that I have, what would you suggest you spend that on? That's from that.
Let's fill out. I just need your information. I don't even need, if you're gonna talk about Medicare, then I need a permission to contact. If you're just gonna talk about financial planning, all that stuff, just write the name down on the back of that and give it to Yvonne. We can talk offline, because there's a whole bunch of individual things. You know what I mean? And I like to sit down and understand what's going on, because you don't want to give somebody a product. I don't deal in products. I believe in understanding what your situation is, and then we talk about product. There's no need to talk, because I don't know what, I don't know, there's a lot of product. I don't know what you need until I understand you and what you're trying to achieve and what you have. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so we definitely talk offline.
My question is, I will be signing up for Medicare. So it's 3 to 4 months, and I know that because I've already done that research. Can I sign one of those sheets now? Or do I need to wait? I can do it now.
Good question. So she's turning 65. I just did a
I'm turning
Medicare.
65 in December,
In
but
December,
3 to
so-
4 months before that.
That's
I
the
can
perfect
sign
time. When you turn 65, you have what's called an initial enrollment period. It's an IEP. That is the period, the month you turn 65, 3 months before, 3 months after. That's the time that you have time to get into a plan if you're going to opt into one. If you don't, there could be penalties. If you're keeping your work insurance, it's not a penalty if you keep it. I mean, if you miss your IEP. If you miss it and you're keeping your work insurance and it's credible, then you won't have penalties. It's only if you don't, or if you're coming off of it, then we need to do it, okay? And I like to work with people at least 3 months before. Let's do this thing and let's be proactive. Let's not wait until the end, because in the end, now you're stressed and you stress me.
Right.
Okay? Now we both shoot. But yes, we can do it. We can definitely do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
My question is, my mom had what's called a Miller's Trust. How does that mature?
Let's talk about that later too, because that's what she had a builder's trust, so we can talk about it. And I have a team. I don't know it all. My specialty is Medicare. Then I work with a team, and even if it's something we don't do, we refer out. Like, I'm not an attorney, so I can't put a will in place for you, but I sure can say you need to talk to somebody, let's get you connected. So I have a specialist that works with me that knows more about that than I do. I'll just be very honest about that, okay? So we don't have a ton of time left. Let's go. I'm gonna keep moving. You can see down there, Part B, the annual deductible. That is an annual deductible. It's $257. Let's get it. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I have AMD Medicare,
Okay.
but I'm with Anthem,
Okay.
so that makes me Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, good question. So she has Medicare A and B, and then she has Anthem. And we're gonna do a quick demonstration. So yes, it is with Medicare Advantage plan.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So as Part C with Anthem, but Part B is Medicare, Medicaid.
No, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you have half of it right.
Okay.
But we'll run through it, but good question. I know they have A, B, C, D, it's crazy. So when you look at Anthem and Aetna and all of those carriers, those are independent carriers, and what they do is they contract with Medicare to cover plans. You can either go with a plan through Medicare, or Medicare contracts with Aetna, Anthem, United, and you can go with a plan through them. And those plans are Part C or Medicare Advantage. It's the same thing. My clients still call me and say, "Oh, can I need to get that C? I need that C with my Medicare Advantage." I say it's the same thing. Okay, they just terms. But those are contracts, okay? And so then you have options of getting different plans. And think of carriers. Carriers are Anthem, Aetna, United. Those are parents. Think of them as parents. Then the parents have many children, and many children are the plans. And there's HMOs, there's PPOs. They have lots of plans. So when somebody says, "Oh, I'm on that Humana plan," well, Humana is not a plan. Humana is a carrier. It's a parent. They have many children. Which child are you talking about? Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so let's do a quick little activity. Oh, can you, I'll do these if I got them. Anybody else have any of these? Okay, we're gonna I'll do it this way. So, let's talk about the difference between original Medicare and a Medicare Advantage. First of all, we're gonna stick with original Medicare, okay? So, original Medicare, remember on that sheet, there's some holes in there. You got some payments. The reason why, let's just say this.
she stand up?
Can you stand up? Well, if you need to sit down, let me know. So with original Medicare, on that sheet, the bottom line is if you have A and B, Medicare, the government is gonna take care of about 80% of your bill, okay? So that's 80%. The other 20%, whoever's on here. Okay. But Wilma will have one that would be Wilma's. Okay. And I will tell you, this is John, but Wilma got one. Right? Now, Part B has the deductibles annual, it's a $257, but Part B has a premium, a monthly premium. This year it's $185. And they just go ahead and take it right on out of your Social Security. They just say, don't even worry about it, we'll take that. Now, the only way that if you're not paying that or what have you, or if you have lower income, then we can talk about Medicaid, okay? And that will help take up some of this, and that's a whole different thing too. I work with both of those. Okay, so if you don't like what's on that page, that paper, then you can add something to that to take up that 20% or to fill in that gap. It's called a supplement. Who's got my supplement? Wilma's got it. Come on up, Wilma. Price is right. Come on up. It's right here, if you can make it work. Perfect. Perfect. So, and I will say this. There's a page, the last page on the left-hand side of your folder, when we get done, all this information is comparing a original Medicare to a Medicare Advantage. It has everything I'm talking about, so you can see them side by side. The last page on that side is also helping you decide which one is better for me. And it'll ask you some questions. And based on your answer, you can see, am I geared more to a Medicare Advantage or am I geared more to an Advantage, okay? Or original Medicare. So that's in your packet. So, just know, if you take original Medicare, typically people that like original Medicare, these are the people that don't like networks. They don't care, they don't want to be tied. They may live in Florida half of the winter, and they just don't want to be tied to a network. Or they just don't like networks. They also have the budget to pay up front. And you're going to pay up front whether you use it or not. If you never go to the hospital, it doesn't matter, you're going to pay. Then when you go to the hospital, when you go to the nursing home, when you go get outpatient things or surgeries or things like that, you have no copay. You pay it all up front. You pay as you know, okay? And that could be $200, $300, could go all the way up to $400 by the time we're done. But no, this is included. So you got the $185. If you don't want that 20%, then you buy a supplement. And a supplement has a cost. That's why I got a little dollar sign. Just depends on the carrier, okay? That's my job to help you identify the cheapest one. Because a G, they have G's, N's, F's, all that stuff. Confusing. I usually stick with G's and N's, just shows how much is covered. It depends on how much is covered on each one of them. But just know, Anthem, Aetna, United, a G is a G is a G is a G. I don't care if you're on a G with Anthem, G with Humana, they're all the same. The only difference is price. So my job is to find the best price. So you add the 185 and then whatever this costs, maybe it's 200. Add that in. This is a la carte. This is like going to MCL. You have to add things because it's not in there. So you know, MCL is very good, but you got to pay for the green beans. You got to pay for the. This is MCL. It doesn't have a drug plan, so we have to add a drug plan. And when you add a drug plan, you add a premium. Then if we want dental, vision, and hearing, we got to add that. There's dental. Who's got my glasses? Anybody got my glasses? Come on up. Stick it right here if you can. There's a little sticker right here. Thank you. There you go. Awesome. Anybody got an ear? Who got my ear? All right, come on up. Got my ear. I need my ear. And when you add dental, vision, and hearing, what do you add? A premium. There you go. So we have been MCL. So when you add all of this up, it could be, it just depends. It could be $200. It could be, the lowest I had was $150, and I don't know how that got to be. The highest was probably about $450. So that's what you have to pay, okay? Now, some people feel like this is not palatable. Your other option, you can sit down now, is a Medicare Advantage plan, okay? They're not the same. You have to have A and B. Everybody got to have A and B, but you can opt to get out of this and go with Anthem, Aetna, United. Those are the companies that are contracted with CMS and get one of their plans, okay? The reason I have all this stuff on here is because it's in there. It's like a combo meal. You don't have to, it's not MCL, it's like going to McDonald's or something, you get the combo meal. Most of these plans, most of them don't have a premium, monthly premium. This has a premium, remember. This one doesn't have a premium most of the time, but you're gonna pay as you go. Kinda, and people understand these, I thought you were giving me time. People understand these more than you think. It's kind of like your work insurance, okay? You got a premium and then you pay a little copay or pay co-insurance as you go, okay? People that want these, you do have to understand who are your doctors, who are what are your drugs? Because my job, if you want to keep those doctors and we want to get the cheapest drugs, then I need to match it and find a plan that's going to be the best and the care that's going to be best for you. Okay? Make sense? Yeah. Y'all are experts.
Do you get supplemental with the advantage?
You don't. Good question. Because these are different. They're not married.
Well,
There's
do you have to get supplemental with the advantage?
no, because they're single. It's all in here.
Oh.
These are single individuals. They are not married. They're not dating. They're just friends. Okay, they coexist together because you gotta have A&B for both. But like a lot of people say, oh yeah, I got a Advantage plan and I got a supplement. I was like, you don't have all that. And if you do, then see me, we need to drop the supplement because you should be paying that. Okay, make sense? Okay, y'all know more than most people know walking around with just this piece of information. And in your folder, that second page, it has Medicare Advantage and it has original Medicare and it goes back and forth. So you can see, put them side by side. Then that third page back there is for you to identify, I'll put it out. Time, okay. This page is the one that goes back and forth and tells you everything that I just told you, okay? This one is the one that tells you, you can look at this one, look and see which one's gonna be better for you, which one would you lean toward, okay? And then don't worry about that other one on the other side, that was an exercise we didn't have time to do it. All righty, so I appreciate everybody. And like I said, if you need to talk to me, then you can see Yvonne in the back. But I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
I have a real quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on Medicare, and my husband, where he works, retired from, as my supplement, I had Humana through them, and they paid 100% everything. So I've been blessed. I haven't had to pay any insurance or anything. But this company has just filed bankruptcy, and they sent me a letter a few weeks ago and saying they don't know when, but in the next 2 months to a year, I won't have that insurance no more, that supplement. So I'm gonna have to get my own insurance. Is there anybody over there I can talk to?
Yeah.
That when the time comes, I can see what will go with my Medicare that would be best.
So you'd be over here. What, are you in the state?
No, I live in Arkansas.
Okay, if you can see my assistant back there and give her name, what I can do, because I don't write in Arkansas, I can find an agent that I feel like is somebody who you trust and get in there.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Robert done made me quit.
So I'll kind of start up with an introduction. I'm Dr. Trifina Jenkins. I am a licensed mental health provider, therapist, and I also have my PhD in clinical psychology. And so I've been in the field for quite a bit, which has really been a privilege and an honor for me. Because one thing you learn in mental health is the more practice you get, the more individuals you get to work with, the better you come to understand the human experience, and the better you can kind of understand what works and what doesn't. And so I've been very fortunate to work with young children all the way up to our older population. I actually did some work, and I'll mention this in the presentation, with the Louisiana Association for the Blind. And I was working with some of our older adults who had lost their vision completely. And the experience that they go through is extremely unique when you think about grief and loss. And so even from that, of being able to work with them and learning some of the changes that happen across the lifespan, hopefully some of that learning I can kind of present to you guys. But I'm gonna be honest with you. As we go through this, something that I've learned that has been wonderful is that therapy is the best when you got God as foundation. And it's something in our mental health world we don't talk enough about, that spiritual Thomas, I'm gonna let you slide the lights just a little bit. I wanna hit a few things. One, I have to make this statement because I am a licensed therapist, but this presentation is educational, right? So it's not meant as during this presentation that I'm diagnosing anyone or I'm providing you with a direct intervention. I am gonna provide you some education. But I want this to be here because there's actually gonna be a point in this presentation where I want you to do self-reflection. And you won't have to share your answers with me, but I need you to share them with yourself and God. Because you might need to do something in response to what you learned about yourself. Okay? So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with it. Okay, so here's our agenda. In order to know how to respond to stuff, we got to know what we're responding to. So we're going to go through some definition and terms. We're going to really talk about what it means to be sad or down versus what it means to be clinically depressed. We're going to talk about what it means to just feel worried and anxious versus what it means to be clinically anxious or have a disorder in anxiety. And so we're going to talk about definitions and terms so that we're all speaking the same language. Then we're going to transition from that and we're going to do some self-reflection. And then we're going to talk about some demographics because I do believe that the experience through the lifespan changes with age. And so we need to talk about what the research has found for anxiety and depression as we age and what they found that's helpful. And so we'll talk a little bit about demographics and stats. We're going to talk about when to know when you need to get help. We're going to talk about some helpful strategies and intervention, and we're going to talk about spiritual resilience. But throughout this presentation, the best intervention I know is the Word of God. So I've thrown some scriptures in there to help boost what we're going to be doing. And when those scriptures come up, I'm going to ask all of us to say them because it is something about the Word of God when it's spoken out loud. Yes. And so we're going to utilize that as well throughout the presentation. Are we still doing good on volume? Yes. All right, here we go. Okay, we're going to dig in because I ain't got a lot of time. And I'm going to keep the lights dim just a little bit if that's okay with y'all. And I ain't going to put it together through this station. All right, so one, we're going to talk about definition, anxious feeling. Now, none of us like to be anxious. And a lot of times when we get anxious and we get worried, the first thing we want to do is run from it. Because who wants to feel like that, right? But the truth is, it really doesn't matter how fast you run or how far you go, that anxiety is going to follow you. And it is because it is an emotion that we have. And that emotion is meant to inform us that something's going on that we might need to look at and respond to a little bit differently. So I want you to understand what is actually really normal about the feeling of anxiety or anxiousness. One, it happens in response to stress. Who in here has been stressed before? All right, me too. And so I'm in that age right now where I'm more middle-aged. I got a 21-year-old, and I thought stress was going to end when she left. It's just kind of really beginning. And then I got young ones, I got work, I got my husband, I got all these things. That's so stress, right? All of us have stress. That is a part of life. And when stress comes, sometimes there is a feeling of worriness or anxiety that pops up. That is a part of what happens in our existence. It is temporary, oftentimes, or when it is a normal expression of anxiety, it's usually temporary, and it fades once the situation passes. So throughout your life, you probably experienced that in different phases of your life. Oh, I went to the doctor, they gave me a test result, and that was not very liking to what I heard, and I got this feeling of worry that maybe it's more. And then as I lived through and I prayed and I talked to people and I talked to other people who had the same results, that feeling of anxiety or anxiousness faded away, right? That's just a normal expression of an anxious feeling. And so just be mindful of it. That's very normal. You may feel nervous and restless, have trouble sleeping. It doesn't interfere much with your daily life. It's just that thing that's in your head that just keeps on floating. It's okay to feel anxious sometimes. But if it doesn't go away and it takes over, it might be something more. There's a word I want you guys to think of in your mind. I actually said last night when I heard it, I was like, yes. One of the things that lets you know if you get in trouble with something that you really need to address is when you feel stuck. When you get stuck and you can't see no other way to look at it or to respond to it, all you got is the feeling of stuckness and the overwhelming feeling of anxiety or whatever else it is. That feeling of stuckness is something that lets you know, ooh, I can't budge, I can't move, I probably need some help, some support or assistance. But it's okay to feel this sometimes. No, we don't want to. And we got some stuff we can use to help us with it, but this is the feeling that comes up. Anxiety disorder, however, is worry, persistent, It is that thing that's digging at you. You wake up in the morning and it's the first thing on your mind. You can't hardly get up out your bed because it's on you so heavy. It's dragging you down. You're trying to get up, but the thoughts just keep, matter of fact, it's keeping you so bad. That's how you really know it's messing you up. You don't want to eat. So stuff that you can say, I can't eat because I'm thinking about this so bad. It got such a hold on me. I can't move. It's persistent. It's holding on to me. It lasts for 6 months or more. So, right, it's not that anxious feeling that we talked about that kind of passes when the stressor moves. Right. Even when the stressor changes at times, it's still there and present. It can cause physical symptoms like fatigue, tension, sleeping issues. So it's things that kind of come up. And it's not just impacting, we might be turning the light off in someone else's room. They may have said, stop blowing the light, sorry guys. But it might cause physical symptoms, fatigue, tension, sleep. It affects relationships, your health, and it might require professional support. And so it's important to know the difference between what is regular anxiety, which we're going to talk about how to deal with it, versus what's clinical. Because if you know when it's moving into something that's a bit more severe, then you know your response to it got to be a little bit more active, right? Now, we're going to talk about some things that we do when it is severe, but then it's really important to do the stuff that can be very proactive. Because we know if we're already introducing those things in our life that's going to be helpful to deal with it if it gets big, it'll kind of help us manage. All right. So, just to let you know, anxiety is real. Now, I do understand that a part of our culture sometimes is that pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Figure it out. We ain't got time to talk about this. What you talk about really ain't nothing because we got to keep moving. I need you to know anxiety is real. Matter of fact, it's so real. 301 million people worldwide have a disorder. Anxiety is to the clinical point. It's been around more than 6 months. It's on them heavy, so it's real. And guess who is a part of the 301 million folks? Us? We ain't exempt. Now don't get me wrong. We got the resilience in us that really does make it look like we got it all together. We have mastered that pretty well. But in all honesty, what's behind this mask, a lot of times are things like this. And so it's important to know that we're not exempt. Because if we can handle it and manage it better, then we can really, they think we got it good now. Let us get that under check. The things that we're able to do when it's managed properly, the sky is the limit. So here we go. Let me tell you what makes the sky the limit. When you infuse the word of God. Yeah. And so what I would like us to do is we can turn that light, they're playing lights with it. Okay. That's all right. Everybody got their Bible? Yeah. On phone, pull up Isaiah 41:10. Read along. I'll read out loud. This is what I think is really wonderful. Because we think we're so new age that God didn't directly speak to our situation. God is so insightful and time is really not anything to him. He puts all of this in the bubble for him. He already seen it all. And so he already spoke directly to anxiety and told you what you need to do. And that's beautiful. Okay, so here we go. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with his righteous right hand. God's already addressed that anxiety is going to be real and there's going to be fear in this life, but I got you, right? So his promise, God is present, strengthening and sustaining us in fearful times. So I say this to say there's some clinical interventions I'm going to talk to you guys about that I think are helpful, that we've learned in the United States as ways to deal with anxiety. But anything that we talk about, I want you to attach the word to it. It is almost like an accelerant, and it pushes his promise into more manifestation. So I want you to keep this in your mind. All right, y'all know y'all can't see it, so I'm gonna read it to the best of my ability. All right, the next thing we're talking about is gonna be feeling sad versus clinical depression, right? Now, everybody here has had moments when we feel sad. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. I get it. Now, a lot of times, just like anxiety, I feel sad, you know the first thing I want to do? I want some ice cream. I want to do something where I don't feel this way. I'm going to give y'all a little tip. Here's just a little bit of knowledge. There's this hormone called dopamine. Yes. Right? Oh, yeah, everybody like go back and consume the things that are artificially increase the dopamine. It is a vicious cycle. So it's mine, just be mindful of that little tip. All right. So everybody feels sad at times, right? Now, being sad is just, again, a sign or a reminder we need to do something about it. Something's going on we need to look at, so let's not run away from it. Let's process it. But we'll talk about how to do that. Usually comes after a loss or a disappointment or a hard time. It comes and goes. You can still enjoy some things and bounce back. So you might be sad, but you still made it out to the grandkids stuff. You might feel sad, but you still was able to get to church and Bible study. But you're kind of feeling down, right? So that's sadness. It doesn't last very long or affect daily life. However, we know it becomes more clinical or clinical depression, similar to anxiety, when it lasts most of the day or nearly every day. When it includes hopelessness, guilt, feeling numb. There's something I hear a lot from clients when they come in. To be honest with you, I don't feel nothing. I'm just here. I don't know what else to tell you. There's nothing. Stuff I used to enjoy. I used to love where I had a client I worked with. I used to love going to my family's house. We played spades and cards. We went every weekend. I know something wrong. I don't want to see nobody. I'm numb. I'm flat, right? So a lot of times when you begin to feel that, and it ain't leaving. Even when the stressor kind of changes, I'm just still stuck right there. That lets you know something's going on. Also with depression, clinical depression, we'll see things like sleep, appetite change, energy change. Sometimes there's thoughts of suicide or death. Last longer than 2 weeks and can interfere with your daily life. It's important when you kind of see that stuff to know, oh, this is not normal feeling of sadness. Something else is going on. All right, and again, little stat. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide, affecting 280 million people. Who was a part of that 280 million? We are too. Although we don't like it, and I get it, no one wants to be uncomfortable, but we have to be honest with ourselves to recognize that depression can hit us too. And if it's not you, it's hitting somebody else you know. And sometimes having that empathy for them to recognize that this is not a feeling anybody wants to get stuck in, but they get stuck in it, and they don't know what to do. And so kind of even having that empathy can be helpful. All right, so I got a word. Here we go. John 14:27. All right, it says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you as the world gives you. Ooh, ooh. Ain't that good? He don't give it to us like the world do. The world stuff don't last. I do not give it to you as the world gives it. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. So his promise, Jesus gives lasting peace that overcomes fear and depression. Okay? It is our accelerant when we think about our mental health. Okay, so I'm just gonna, where am I on time? So 11:30. All right, here we go. We'll move real quick. So, one, understand this. Anxiety and depression or feelings of sadness or feelings of being worried, that stuff don't start when you become adults. It starts early on, okay? And this is what I need you to understand. The way that you were taught to respond to anxiety and depression will impact how you respond to it as an adult. Yeah. So here's an example. If there is a kid that comes in and says, they said they didn't want to be my friend at school, and they talked about me. If a parent says, well, when you go back to school tomorrow, you let them have it, right? That might actually increase conflict in them as far as how they deal with interpersonal relationships. But if they have someone that says, oh, it sounds like you're feeling sad. It sounds like you're feeling kind of alone. What are some things we can do to deal with that feeling? How can we nurture ourselves? Who can we talk to? Are there other people who can be your friends? Now you're teaching them how to address that feeling. Understand, a lot of us didn't learn the right way of how to deal with anxiety and depression. And it shows up even in adulthood, even later on in life. While we are more wise as we get older, sometimes we're not in certain areas if we weren't taught the right way. So it's important to know this doesn't just show up later on in life. This is planted earlier on. And that's not to say that it can't change. It just means you got to be aware that the way that you're responding to anxiety and depression, even if it's how you always responded to it, might not be the best way. Okay? All right, so I'm going to move forward. And so some of the things that we know, that research has kind of shown us about anxiety and depression across the lifespan, is that older adults, they lose loved ones, declining health, and even transitions into retirement can be some of the leading contributing factors to anxiety and depression for them. What I think, though, is very unique that we haven't given space and time for you guys to address is that today's seniors, age 60 to 90, y'all experience civil rights movement. And you want to talk about societal trauma, cultural trauma, things that you guys have seen and witnessed, the hate, the violence. This stuff didn't go away. And no one really gave the time to sit and process how that impacted you. And so I want you to be mindful of that. Your experience is extremely unique when we think about our mental health wellness. And it's going to be extremely important that you give yourself the space and time to process stuff as it comes up. Because I guarantee you, whether you like it or not, it comes up. It's coming up in your relationships, it's coming up when you face trials, it's coming up when you see something that's uncomfortable for you. And so I just want you to be mindful, you have a very unique experience, and that what you've lived has impacted your mental health, even if you were not afforded the time then to process it. Make sure that you create some time in the here and now to do that. And we're going to talk about how that looks. But I just wanted to leave a little note and really leave space to recognize that. All right, and so again, this just kind of talks a little bit about some of those social transitions, that retirement, bereavement, social role changes does impact your mental health as older adults. And so now we're going to do a little bit of some self-work. Now, self-work can be uncomfortable, but I think it's very much so necessary. What I like, though, is that God does self-work with us all the time. He always checking me. I'll say something and think, oh, man, nah, you're right. I should not have done that. Okay, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. So he's always doing it if we're listening. He's trying to do self-work with us all the time. All right, so we're going to do a self-assessment activity. Want to be honest? Again, my disclaimer, this is not a clinical intervention for you. It is self-awareness, okay? So the purpose is for you to increase your self-awareness. It's not diagnostic, but it is a guide for personal reflection. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity, if you want to complete two different screens. One is called the GAD-7. It's essentially 7 questions that gets you to look and see what type of anxiety you might be experiencing. And it'll kind of let you know if you're not in the normal range or if really you need to get some additional support. Then we'll do one called the PHQ-9. It's a screener, it asks 9 questions, and it gets you to look at feelings of depression. And it's going to look to see, are you kind of in the normal range, or if you're in the space where you might need more additional support and attention. All right, so for my savvy people, if you want to use a QR code, you can do it, and it'll take you to a little website, and you can click them in. If not, I'm going to put the screener up, you can see it here, and I'm going to read the questions out. So what I'll do is I'll read the questions out, you'll just write the number, and then at the end, you're just going to add up all your numbers. That's it, okay? All right, here we go. Here's the first one. I don't have my glasses on, so I got to look close. All right, here we go. First question, this is the GAD-7. It says, in the last 2 weeks, this is very important, in the last 2 weeks, feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. 0 is not at all. 1 is several days. 2 is more than half the days. 3 is nearly every day. I'm going to read that again. Number 1, feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. 0 would be not at all. 1, several days. 2, more than half days. 3, nearly every day. That's question 1. I'm going to move to question 2. Not being able to stop or control worrying. Not being able to stop or control worrying. 0, not at all. 1, several days. 2, more than half the days. 3, nearly every day. I'm going to read that again. Not being able to stop or control worrying. That's 0, 1, 2, or 3. All right, number 3. Worrying too much about different things. Worrying too much about different things. 0, 1, 2, or 3. 4, trouble relaxing. Trouble relaxing. 0, 1, 2, 3. so restless that it is hard to sit still. 0, 1, 2, or 3. Number 6, becoming easily annoyed or irritated. Becoming easily annoyed or irritated. 0, 1, 2, or 3. Number 7, feeling afraid as if something awful might happen. Feeling afraid as if something awful might happen. 0, 1, 2, or 3. Add all your numbers up. The last one just says how difficult are these problems, because it's not a score on that. It won't stand for you. Here you go. All right. Okay, and my email will be at the end, so if I need to email this to anybody, I can. Okay. All right, everybody, y'all added up your numbers? All right, here we go. Here's the scoring. 0 to 4 is minimal. You kind of experiencing stuff that's normal. 5 to 9 is mild. Maybe there's something going on situational that's impacting you. 10 to 14 is moderate. We call this the at-risk range. So you're at risk. We need to really keep an eye on it. It wouldn't hurt to get some support if you needed to. 15 to 21 is more severe. You should probably really seek some professional guidance to support you along the way. Okay? That's your self-reflection. You ain't got to score. You ain't got to tell nobody to score. But I do want you to have the information, because sometimes we'll walk around and we are clinically dealing with anxiety, and we have no clue because we've been told you just deal with it, not knowing that you can get some relief. All right, I know I got the relief. It's 11:38. Okay, all right, guys. Do y'all want to do the next one, or would y'all like me to move forward?
No.
I want to do the next one. All right, we're gonna keep going. Okay, here we go. Self-assessment. This is the PHQ-9. This deals with depression. Same thing, 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? So same thing, not at all, several days, more than half days, nearly every day. I'm just gonna read the questions, you guys got it. 1, little interest or pleasure in doing things. Little interest or pleasure in doing things. 2, yeah, I know that's right, you hear her. 2, feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Feeling, yes ma'am.
I don't know which one this is, little interest and pleasure in doing it. So either you don't do it, or you say, oh, one of these days I don't have to do it.
Right, so if it says little interest or pleasure in doing things, not at all. I feel like doing things all the time.
Oh, okay.
Several days I feel little interest or pleasure in doing things. More than half days I feel little interest, and so on. That makes sense to everyone? All right. So number 2, feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Number 3, trouble falling or staying asleep or sleeping too much. Trouble falling or staying asleep or sleeping too much. 4, feeling tired or having little energy. Feeling tired or having little energy. 5, poor appetite or overeating. Poor appetite or overeating. Number 6, feeling bad about yourself or that you are a failure or have let yourself or family down. Feeling bad about yourself or that you are a failure or have let yourself or other family down. 7, trouble concentrating on things, such as reading the newspaper or watching television. Trouble concentrating on things, such as reading the newspaper or watching television. 8, moving or speaking so slowly that other people could have noticed. Or the opposite, being so fidgety or restless that you have been moving around a lot more than usual. 9, thoughts that you would be better off dead or of hurting yourself in some way. All right, I'm gonna flip to the next page, and so you guys can kind of see the scores, and I'll go through them. Same thing, 0 to 4 is minimum. So as y'all are adding them up, 5 to 9 mild, 10 to 14 moderate, 15 to 19 moderately severe, 20 to 27 really severe. You should seek some guidance. Now I'm going to say this because what we know is as we age, things happen, right? And this is what I think is important because I think sometimes we told ourselves, as I'm aging, yes, my concentration is poor, yes, my body hurts, yes, there's things going on. The truth is that still impacts your mental health, right? Because you see the comparison. You know what you used to be able to do physically. You know that your body is making some changes that you don't necessarily like, and those changes can also impact your mental health. And so put it all into. Now if you're transitioning just quite well, that's great. But if you find yourself getting discouraged or these scores are kind of higher, and you're like, man, a lot of this is really connected to my physical health. Physical health actually is one of the leading causes that get people into mental health treatment. It's usually when you go to your primary care physician and you say, I'm not sleeping and this is going on, and the doctor says, oh, you probably need to go talk to somebody. Right? And so be mindful, your body a lot of times is giving you signs to let you know there's things you might want to address for your mental health. And so that's important to consider as well. All right, thank you for doing that. We already know we got normal experiences, ups and downs. Higher scores indicate more frequent symptoms. And remember, if it's impacting your ability to function, you want to get some help. I'm going to run through these slides real quick because I want to get to what do we need to do about things when they do show up. One, I want you to know in the United States, 3 to 10% of older adults living in community experience depression and anxiety. And when you get hospitalized, those rates increase 20 to 25%. So just know that hospitalization is a risk factor. And so whether that's someone you're caring for, just know their mental health is probably being impacted even when they get hospitalized. While their medical needs are being attended to, their mental health needs might not. That's something to be mindful of. And seniors living in long-term care facilities, rates are even higher, 30 to 40%. And so think about that for your family members, thinking about that for you in your own future planning. Mental health is going to be extremely important to attend to, especially for those that are going into those senior living facilities. Gender differences. Women over 60 are nearly twice as likely to experience depression and anxiety compared to men over 60. Right? Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the senior living. You said long-term care facility.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not the same as like if you are, is that the same as if that's like a assisted living facility or senior facility? Or is that the care? You understand what I'm saying?
It's the level of care. So those that are, and you think about it this way, those that are more isolated, more restricted, they don't have as much freedom to come and go as they need, they are under that care. The more long-term, more needs that they have to have being met by others is where we see that increased risk factor. Very good question. All right, so we said that we know women are twice as likely, but men, you are not exempt. Because older adults have one of the highest suicide rates, especially men over the age of 75. Right? And so be mindful of that. So just know, as the lifespan continues, there's risk factors you need to be mindful of. Yes, it's across all races. And this is what I actually predict because I think I talk about it on this next slide. Okay, I don't want to skip. When I get to it, I'll skip it. What I predict is that it's even higher amongst African Americans. Because the information that they get from these studies are people who actually sought out treatment. Right? And so we know that's usually not us. That's that they're gathering information from. It's a very good question. So what I would imagine is, and even from some of the research studies that I've explored, minorities are less likely to seek out attention, and therefore those rates might be even higher. As estimated, 60% of older adults with depression and anxiety do not receive appropriate treatment. And this is really important. One, this is a call, we do need more Black therapists and mental health providers, because what I find is that a lot of Black people don't like going to people who don't look like them. And so when there is a space for them to go to, I find that they go. And so that's a call, right? So even if you got family members just thinking about it and they have a heart for it, they should do it. But even more so, it's important that we identify that we need good treatment, and treatment looks different based off of your background. So the way that I work with individuals who are very high affluent and of the majority, it's different. The conversation I have with them in the therapy room is different than how I'm working with talk different. And so it's important to kind of know that. And so as you get treatment, it's important that it's from a good quality level of care. It needs to be appropriate. And if you do decide to get treatment, shop around for a good therapist. If you go into a room and you ain't clicking with them, find somebody else. All right. Okay, so I talked about this a little bit, so I'm going to move forward. I talked to you guys a little bit about the work I did with the Louisiana Association for the Blind. I'll just touch just a little bit. One of the things I thought was very unique for them that I think you can relate to, regardless if you lose your vision or not, that there's a form of grief that comes with loss of mobility. There's a form of grief that comes with loss of cognitive function. There's a form of grief that comes with just change that you can't go back and do anything about. And that's important that you spend a little bit of time of dealing with that and finding spaces to work with those feelings of grief. Because if you don't, they're going to come back and work with you. Okay? All right. So we know this. What the statistics say about the general population is that fewer than 1 in 3 older adults actually even look to get mental health services. And like I said, I would imagine that it's even less than that for those of the minority population. All right, so now we're going to talk about the good stuff. But it was important that you get the background, because if not, you might walk around saying, oh, I'm good, and you're not good. And you need to get some support. So I want you to be able to identify that. But let's talk about some protective factors. There was some research that's actually been done about this. And it was beautiful research, because one of the things they identified in the research done by Koenig in 2012 is that strong faith community is a huge protective factor against depression and anxiety. So stuff like this right here that y'all doing, it's good stuff. And not just for your spirit, it's good for your mental health too. And so people know. So now you can take this back to other people who didn't come and say, whether you came to this one, you need to go to something else. Because what we know is, evidence has shown us that strong faith community directly correlates, and I really think predicts, our mental health being. Social support systems also found to be extremely strong, and I want you to be mindful of this. When you're depressed and when you're anxious, one of the first things you want to do is isolate. You don't want to be around nobody. Don't let that employee, the devil, come in and creep in and isolate you. Because what we know is that being together with people who can encourage you actually is a protective factor. It is a weapon that you need to help you fight that, okay? So be mindful of that. The other thing that they found was that lifelong learning and engagement is also a protective factor. And so you ain't too old, get on out there and learn something new. Matter of fact, I'm trying to learn some new stuff too. They got blind dances, they got cruises, they got conferences. And so get out there and learn some things that are new, work your brain, because what we know is that it's a protective factor to things like anxiety or depression. So when to know that you need to seek professional support? Number one, and as we look at these, I want you to think of, these are alerts. These should be like bells going off, like an alarm going off when you see one of these things. One, symptoms interfere with daily functioning. I mentioned this a little earlier, right? You can't get up. You're not going to your kids or your grandkids' events because you just feel so down. You're not eating. It's impairing your ability to function on a day-to-day basis. That should be an alert. Things are different. I can't do what I used to do. I probably need to talk to someone about that. Loss of interest in life. If you used to love going to Bible study and it builds you up, and now you ain't been to Bible studies in 2, 3, 4 months. Your functioning and how you usually live has been impacted. And so that should be an alert that lets you know there's something that we need to do. Persistent feelings of hopelessness. You don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't see nothing. That's a sign that you're stuck and you need to reach out and get some support. Thoughts of self-harm, right? That's a definite sign. We're doing pretty well as a community to know those are thoughts we really should not have, or if we are having them, we need to get some help. So professional support reduces risk of escalation. What is nice is that the whole point of going to get support is that what you are experiencing, the level of distress, the goal is that it doesn't escalate. And so that's what we want to be mindful of. So it's a very helpful tool. But it's only a helpful tool when we have, what's that, accelerant? Yes, ma'am. How are we on time with this? Thank you. It's 11:50. Okay, now y'all know they started me a little late. So y'all just give me 5 minutes on the back end. I'm messing. If you got reservations for lunch and stuff, go. I will send you the slides.
And I'll tell you, lunch, we do have lunch here around room 4. You can get your lunch over there in that area without even leaving this floor at all, and that'll be accessible to you on this floor. But your daddy give you 5 more minutes with.
Appreciate that. All right. So helpful strategies. There's this thing that we call in therapy called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Essentially, it says that the reason why we kind of do things that aren't always helpful is because of the way we're thinking about the thing, right? So the way you think impacts what you do, right? And so cognitive behavioral therapy says, oh, if you want to change what you're doing, you might need to change how you think. And one of the tools that we use in therapy is something called reframing. It's pretty much taking a negative thought that we get, because we all get them, we can be honest, and then figuring out a different way really to get unstuck and think about it in another option. So here's an example. If your negative thought was, I'm a burden, I ain't gonna call them, I'm a burden, I'm just bothering everybody. A way you could reframe that thought could be, I am loved and valued. Because if I tell myself I'm a burden, guess what I'm not gonna do? I'm not gonna call nobody, I'm a burden. But if I tell myself I'm loved, I'm valued, I'm gonna be more apt to call someone because they love me and they value me, right? So that's what reframing is. We'll just do one of these. I had a few, but we're just gonna do one of these. If you can think of one, you can. If not, I'll put one up. Here's a negative statement. I'm too old to make a difference now, right? If you say I'm too old to make a difference now, most likely you ain't gonna do nothing to make a difference. Because you're too old, right? What is the way that we can reframe it?
I have a lot of experience and I can share with someone.
Come on now. Because if you got a lot of experience and you can share, you know what I'm about to share. Because I got stuff that I can tell you that can help you. Absolutely right. You wrote my slide. I have a lifetime of experience to share. My wisdom can inspire and help others. So you get it? It's this idea of reframing. Anyone can do that. You just got to be mindful of when you tell yourself stuff that's negative. That's really the key, is the awareness. You got to catch yourself. And so if you find, sometimes the best way to catch yourself is to watch your body. If you find that I'm feeling down and my body feels so heavy, wait, what am I thinking? What am I telling myself? Oh, I told myself that I can't do nothing and my body's failing me. Oh, well, hold on, wait a minute. I don't want to think that. Right? So then you reframe it. You know what? I have the opportunity to go find out what's going on with my body so I can keep on moving. And so you want to reframe your thoughts when you can catch when they're negative.
You know that.
We're going to go. I got
into that.
Yes, ma'am.
That with the experience, for as we age, it's also very important to know that we have the time. We may not have the experience, but we have the time.
Oh, yeah.
So that we don't feel left out.
Oh, I like that. She was saying that, you know, a lot of times while the experience might not be there, you have the time. You have the time to do something about it. I think you're right. That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing it. All right. I'm gonna touch this and I'm moving on. Behavioral activation is also a strategy you can use. So if you find yourself isolated and being alone and you can't even get your thoughts to reframe, just do something different. Just get up and go outside and look at the sun. Right? You can sit in the house, you don't like how you're feeling, you can't sleep like you want to, just move. One of the things I do in therapy with clients when they get really stuck, we're talking about something they can't see another way, I say, get up out the chair, come with me over here. All right, now I want you to look at the chair, you sit at the chair, what do you see? Because when you look this way, you're going to see something different than when you're looking at me. Come on. And so we need to, behavioral activation is a strategy that you can use to get yourself to see the situation a little bit differently, okay? Yes, ma'am.
How can we help people without aggravating them that we love to do these things?
I'm gonna tell you, empathy, and patience is one of the best things you can do. You just let them know I love you. If you ever want to talk to me, I'm here. You know to intervene when it's an emergency. So if it's an emergency and you gotta intervene because they're causing, harm to themselves or someone else, you know to intervene. But if it's not that, you just love them. I'm here for you. If you want to talk, call me. I'm gonna come and check on you. I love you. And that's really, that empathy is one of the best things you can do. All right. Mindfulness. Oh, how much time I got? I want y'all to try this Navy SEAL thing that I learned. That's really cool. It's 11:55. Okay, this is a 1 minute exercise. So Navy SEALs learn this breathing technique. This is kind of a part of mindfulness because when we get really nervous or depressed, we're everywhere but in the present. We're all in our mind, all over the place. Stuff that's already happened, stuff that might happen, it's everywhere but here. So the Navy SEALs, if you can imagine, are under a lot of stress. And they can't afford to be on a mission and be somewhere other than the mission, right? So they use this strategy called box breathing. Box breathing. BOX breathing, right? And so box breathing essentially helps them calm their whole nervous central down. Your whole nervous central system down. It slows everything down. It gets you to focus in on your breath and allows you to come back and center yourself in place. So we're gonna do it. Y'all about to train to be Navy SEALs. Y'all ready? All right. So this is a 1-minute exercise. The box is gonna tell you what to do, but essentially you're going to take a breath in. You're gonna hold the breath. You're gonna exhale. You're gonna hold, and then you're gonna breathe in. Okay? Now, if you got breathing, Alright, and I say that because I do have breathing issues, but for us, they have COPD. Alright, here we go. Y'all ready? Hit the lights for me if it'll let you. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. All right? Look at that. Look. And I didn't do the whole minute. I just want you guys to see how it is. But the truth is, we gotta find things that let us be present. And I think there's a lot of spiritualness to that too. God wants us to reflect on Him in the here and now. 5 minutes. Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect. And so you can't do that if you're everywhere but here. You can't hear what He's trying to tell you. You can't even get in your word real good. You be trying to read the Bible, but oh my gosh, your mind is everywhere else but where it needs to be. And so this is something that comes with practice. This ain't something that happens overnight. You actually have to be very diligent and mindful to take moments to be present. And that's just an exercise. So look, y'all training to be Navy SEALs. You're on your way. All right. Okay, we talked a little bit about this natural support. So family and friends, we call those our emotional anchors. Don't lose them. Purpose and passion, volunteering and hobbies, we call that the social cure. Those are things that can be helpful. All right, see? So we know stuff like this is good stuff. All right, here we go. This is the last thing that this is the most important. Spiritual resilience. So spiritual resilience, the ability to maintain hope and purpose through faith and even adversity. And I've talked a little bit about this already, so I won't go into too much detail, but I do think you can't really take care of your mental health if you're not taking care of your spiritual health. And this is what I've seen even with therapists. I'll have clients that come in, and they don't really want to talk about their spiritual world, and that's fine. I've even had some say, I believe in God, but I don't want to bring that in here. And I go, okay, all right, we'll involve that when you trust me a little bit more. I want to know more about why you don't want to do that. But what I will say is that a lot of times when you don't believe in something that is bigger than you, that can come in and transform you, you're going to get stuck a long time. Because you're constantly throwing the wrong solutions at the problem. And so be mindful of that. Don't let anyone deter you to say, well, shoot, no, that ain't really something you need to pray about. You need to go talk to a therapist. So how about talking to a therapist in person? And that's called spiritual resilience. And so things like prayer, scripture reflection, community worship are all practices that can build in your spiritual resilience. Research has actually shown strong link between spiritual practices and lowering those rates of depression and anxiety like we talked about. So I got 3 prescriptions for you. You came to the doctor's office and then you leave them with some prescriptions, okay? I got 3. Here's the first one. This is our prescription for anxious thoughts. You can find the root, so all the ingredients that go into this prescription, you can find in Philippians 4:6-7. Philippians 4:6-7 is where you're going to find the ingredients for the prescription. It says, do not be anxious about anything. Ooh, that's hard. really relate to this, and maybe that's why I picked it, but I relate. It says, why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? I have been there where it's like, there's no reason why I should be feeling down right now. Right? Why? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise him, my Savior and my God. Right? So, he knew we were going to feel like this, but he's telling us, okay, I got it. There's no reason for you to feel this way because I already did what I said I was going to do. You got access to it, right? Here's the action. When you feel down, sad, depressed, I need you to praise God for what he has and will do. So, as soon as you get that feeling, I'm down. Hold on. Thank you, God, for letting me stand up and realize I'm down. Stop what you're doing and you're going to praise him. Then I want you to do this. Write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Immediate. We are getting unstuck. We are changing our perspective on the situation. So that's our prescription. You got it? So you got your prescription. Boy, y'all, God walking through here and you're going to take it all. That's prescription for the patient. I got one more for you. We're going to close out. Prescription for loneliness. Prescription for loneliness. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Get this, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Look to your left. That's someone that helped you up. Look to your right. That's someone that helped you up. Look up to God. He's already told you what to do when you get lonely. And so when you get lonely, I need you to go to God's promises. But you know what else I want you to do? I need you to show up somewhere. One thing I love about churches, they meet every week. That's right. There is a place to go to be around people. Sunday, Wednesday, they have stuff all during the week. It's been a beautiful transition how active the church has really become. You know what else I like? If you can't find a church, if you can't, it's hard. Look in your community. You can Google now. You can find places where seniors are meeting all the time that are like-minded as you. And sometimes you can go and present to them what you've learned. And that strengthens that support community that you need. All right, y'all got your prescriptions, right? Yeah. All right, here's my final note. We know it is important to take care of our mental health. We know that therapeutic intervention might be helpful. We know that natural supports are going to be really helpful. What I want you to walk away with, though, is your spiritual resilience is going to be the foundation of all your mental wellness. And that doesn't mean you don't need the other things. It just means you need the foundation. And it's going to make the other things easier to deal with. You'll get more manifestation of God when you deal with it with him. You'll get more long-term and permanent solutions when you deal with them with God. And so I want you to infuse that. And if you do need help with a therapist, find one that does utilize spiritual practices. And if you don't find one in one place, then you look for another. Now there are actually resources where you actually can find therapists that will infuse their Christian walk with yours. Okay? All right, I got to give you this. If anyone has experience, because I've talked about some things, if it's brought up something for you and you need help, there is a new, you know how we have 911 for emergency services? There's now 988 for mental health crisis, okay? 988, you can give that number to anyone, it's 24 hours. They can call and talk to a licensed person on the phone, and they can get support for their mental health needs. In Indiana, there's also the mental health hotline that you can also call. That is a 24/7 hour line, and you can call them to support for mental health, all right? It has been wonderful. Spending time with you.